On January the 18th of 2009, at about 2 o'clock in the morning, I received a phone call from my son Edward, which was a parent's worst nightmare. I tried to talk to Ed and say, calm down, tell me where you're at, tell me what's going on, and he just kept screaming and crying and saying, Dad, we were hit by a car. Dad, we were hit by a car.
I was living in Winchester, Virginia with our youngest son and was woken by the phone with Joe's dad, Jim, on the other end, crying and saying that it was really bad. And I didn't understand what he was talking about. And then I heard the state trooper chiming in saying that both of your boys have been hit and one doesn't have a heartbeat.
And when they looked at the MRI, they determined that the injuries were very severe, that his skull had been separated from the spinal cord, or excuse me, from the spine, so he had a skeletal decapitation. His body was intact on the outside, but the skeleton was no longer intact inside. The doctor said that it's very unlikely that he would live, but if he did, he would never have a conscious thought. He would never have a purposeful movement. That if he survived, which was highly unlikely, he would be in a persistent vegetative state for the rest of his life. They were very wrong.
On the fifth day when we went in there to see him after being up with the kids all morning, talking about what we should do for Joe, when he cried tears from the coma, that was basically, that was our way of Joe telling us, look, I'm in here fighting, don't give up on me.
I said, no, Joe, nobody here, just me and your mother and you. And he said, sit down. So we sat down and he said, I died and I went to heaven. And I said, I know, Joe, I was there. And he acted very surprised and he said, you know? And I said, yeah, I was there, Joe, when you died. And then he said, well, let me tell you about heaven. Basically, he described it as every sense that a human has. It was the most wonderful experience of each of the senses. He said the sounds were beautiful, the smells were beautiful, the sights were beautiful, that it was just, every bit of it was an amazing experience. I asked him if he saw my mother, my father, others who had passed before, and he said no. That he was stopped at the gate and he was told that he couldn't go in because it wasn't his time. And once he went in all the way, he wouldn't be able to come back. And so he saw the people on the other side, but he wasn't allowed to go in there and interact with them. As amazing as Joe is, which he is, an amazing young man, and strength beyond words, he couldn't have done this on his own. I mean, considering the injuries and how much he's overcome, coming up on 7 years now, there had to be divine intervention. So there's no doubt in my mind that the Lord has been with Joseph and continues to be with Joseph, and he is seeing him through this.